All right, everybody, I am Andrew Baydella. That is Blake Mitchmore. This is episode 2 of Thanks for the House. We talk about the business within the business of professional wrestling and sports entertainment. It has been a couple weeks since we've been live, but there is a lot that's going on in professional wrestling and sports entertainment. Before we get into all of that and your feedback from Saturday night's main event, which was heavily involved with the New York Knicks, Madison Square Garden, we're going to talk about Dark Side of the Ring, which I'm excited for. We're going to talk about a lot of different things here today. Bayley, you name it, we're going to talk about it. We're going to take a different approach like we did the first episode we had, which is more of a business approach. But before I get into all that, Blake Mitchmore, how the hell are you?
Good, man. It's been longer than a couple of weeks. I thought after one episode I had gotten canceled. So it's good to be back. It's good to be back.
It is. Kids, baseball, basketball, camps, all this other stuff, work, vacations. I try and keep myself as busy as humanly possible, and trying to make shows about professional wrestling in the summer is tough because truthfully, there's just so much going on. And as somebody who does this, I do it for truthfully, I mean, it's a passion project for me. I'm not getting paid a boatload of money, but it's tough to keep up with all the content, especially in the summer. So I am caught up, happy to be caught up. There's a lot, especially in the summer. And I feel for the companies who are trying to get people to actually come to their buildings to go to shows. But good to be back. Blake, what do you want to talk about? Let's start us off here. We're going to be live for about like an hour. So we'll see what we get to.
You just mentioned struggling to get people to come into buildings, and that's a big topic of discussion right now. SummerSlam sales are bad. They're real bad. They're running a building that, realistically, they could probably get 50, 60,000 in there. And as of today, they're just creeping close to 30 both nights. They're still under it.
Well, let me, and I know where you're going with this. And I do want to say that I saw some narratives here before Blake finishes his thing where there's no way they sold these amount of tickets. This is what my job is. So, they have sold a lot of tickets, and you want to know why they've sold a lot of tickets for both Saturday and Sunday? Because they're priced where people can actually afford them now. It's cheaper than taking you and your wife, your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, or whatever tickles your fancy out to dinner. You could sit in a lower level seat, club level seats in the lower level. They were at $79 yesterday, $80. That's cheaper than a dinner for two. I mean, unless you're going to, like Applebee's or something, which I'm sure somebody will put in the comments, and that's cheaper. Fine. But that's a far cry from what they were charging 3 months ago, which was $350 a seat or even $250. So they've made them affordable and they've flown. Now the ticket prices have creeped back up a little bit. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's where I want to go. They have discounted them, some of them super low. I mean, it's been 3 years since you've been able to get in a building for $25, even if it is in the bleeders. I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think it's a combination of some mediocre creative. I think we all know that. I think it's a combination of the demand was there for a long time, and they were able to charge these exorbitant prices. But the question I have based on this is, has the bubble burst officially and they're going to have to make moves moving forward after this event, or is this just a one-time deal? So getting to our format, for those, since we haven't done it in a while, Drew, buy or sell, this is the end of WWE's reign as high ticket prices, and they're going to have to change their model moving forward after SummerSlam.
I'm selling it for now. They're very much on the dynamic pricing scale in terms of, I don't want to bore people or give too much inside baseball because people are like, what the hell does that mean? Basically, they price their tickets for what the market demands at that current time. That's what dynamic pricing is. So the same tickets that were $79 yesterday are now $124 because people gobbled them all up, which is understandable. At that price, people are going to. Fans have gotten smarter. So I will say that it's kind of like a half buy, half sell, but I'm going to go with a sell for now. I think WWE is going to continue to put out the ticket prices as high as they normally have for that initial month and a half. The tickets go on sale because there are panic buyers or people who need to have a certain seat and they don't care what it costs and they get them. But fans have gotten a lot smarter. People are saying nobody wants to travel to Minnesota. That's not true. The hotels here are booked solid. It's just people are not, they're not going to pay $500 a night for a subpar product. And I don't think the product is, for me, it's not too subpar, but I'm also not spending $1,000 for 2 nights. I'm just not doing it. I've been to a lot of shows. So I think WWE is going to continue to do this type of model. They're going to stick with what they've done. And that is, we'll lower them as the market demands. And then I guarantee you the ticket prices go higher a couple days before the event. And I guarantee you they put at least 45,000 at US Bank Stadium per night. And they're going to get 90,000 or close to 100,000 for this show for both nights, not one night, for both nights. And for SummerSlam, that's pretty solid. This card is stacked, truthfully. I know there's a couple matches where people are scratching their head, but it's SummerSlam. I mean, we used to get, Mabel and Diesel for the title, and people didn't complain. It just is. It is what it is.
That's always been the WWE model, right? I mean, that's even back in the Vince days. That's always been the WWE model. The show is built around they're going to have a couple of really high-profile matches each night, and then the card's going to be filled in. That's just the way they do it.
And they have 3 legit main events, Blake. I mean, legit main events.
Yeah, and you're going to get 2 on one night. So, I mean, that's going to be the night that they have the most, however the card shakes out. But I would agree with you. I don't think the bubble has burst officially yet. I do think it's something to monitor moving forward because, I think the expectation is that they're going to announce a WrestlePalooza event in September in the next couple of weeks. If they go through the same struggles in that one, that may signify that the bubble is officially burst and they're going to have to do something different moving forward. But one event, not there just yet.
Well, and I think that they're smart not to announce the Rumble location. A lot of people are asking where the Rumble's going to be. And if the Rumble's going to be stateside, then people will probably wait. If they said, hey, the Rumble's going to be in Miami, Florida, which I do believe that's where it's going to be. Okay. People will probably not, who are, maybe from New York, Atlanta, Georgia, and Florida, maybe don't travel to SummerSlam because, okay, now I could just go to the Rumble and I'll still be able to see a high quality PLE event. WWE and TKO is being smart to wait for that Rumble location because if Rumble is stateside, then they don't have the people who are going to panic buy and be like, I got to get to a show because they've announced Survivor Series in Houston, Texas. A lot of people have, they enjoy Survivor Series, but it's not SummerSlam, it's not the Royal Rumble, and it's not WrestleMania. So WrestleMania is in a different country. And as you saw Saturday, WWE is doing a watch party in New York City, basically like what they did for other WrestleManias where it was closed circuit television. And that's a smart move by them because there will be a lot of fans that don't travel. But them not announcing Royal Rumble is also another sales tactic. They want to create that panic buy. And I'll have to wait and see what happens. I think SummerSlam is going to be just fine, though. If forecasting this for everybody who's like, WWE's in the mud, they're going to sell. And they're going to sell 35 to 40,000 seats per night easily.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point with the Rumble, and I'll speak for myself when it comes to, you mentioned the Survivor Series is going to be in Houston. I was going to SummerSlam because it's up in your neck of the woods before life got in the way. But if it wasn't in Minnesota, I would have been in that same boat. I would have just gone, I could just drive 4 hours down the road and only spend a hotel in one night and no flights. I'll go to Survivor Series and skip SummerSlam.
Right.
So I think that's a good point. Staying on the ticket topic, AEW All-In sales have picked up now that they're starting to announce matches. We're over 30K, but they did 80K in year 1. They did over 50 in year 2. This is now, they didn't run last year, but this is the third in 4 years, and they're trending right now to be under 40K. I see Hannibal in the comments saying that he thinks there's a chance they'll outdraw both nights of SummerSlam. I don't see them getting 25,000 more tickets between now and the end of August.
What are they at right now?
That's freaking awesome, but they're at 31 as of yesterday.
Oh, I mean, listen, with all due respect to AEW, like I said, SummerSlam is going to draw 40 per night. So you're probably looking at about 82,000. that would be a complete sellout of Wembley, and I just don't see AEW doing that. And realistically, I mean, the repeat business is a real tough business, but I like where Tony is a traditionalist and he likes that stuff. So he's going to go back, and he has a great relationship with that building. So,
and therein lies my question. So, buy or sell, this needs to be the last AEW all in.
Oh, buy.
At least for a while.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying they don't need to go back to London. They need to hit London on a regular basis.
Sure.
But I think it's time to get out of Wembley because you see the demand is going away.
Yeah, I mean, the first time they did Wembley a lot, it was more along the lines of like when WWE did the Manhattan Center for, and I'm using this because you'll understand, WWE did the Manhattan Center for Raw's, I think it was the 20th, 5th, or 30th anniversary, whatever it was, 25th. And the nostalgia factor where people were like, I got to go to the Manhattan Center, and they were paying insane prices to get into that building. The show was a dud. I was there. The show was a dud, but people were paying insane prices for that because it was the atmosphere of the first Monday Night Raw and everything else like that. The same to be said about Wembley Stadium for a wrestling event. And the card was loaded, but I mean, there hadn't been a wrestling event there in 30 decades.
First major stadium show,
right? And there hadn't been a wrestling show there in 30 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, everything.
The first one was a once in a lifetime thing to be at.
Yeah, and it was also like when New Japan ran the Garden with Ring of Honor. I mean, it's just something that doesn't happen. The repeat business is tough business. This was the year to do the final one. I'm buying all of this. Ospreay winning the championship here at Wembley Stadium is a moment that needs to happen. I suggested that they should have done a full European tour right after this event. I know the boys and girls will probably groan about that in AEW because it's a lot of travel, especially with most of them being stateside based. But once Will wins that championship, a European tour there for 2 to 3 weeks would have done wonders for their business, in my opinion, because the crowds will be jam-packed. They would be lively. I think that's a missed opportunity. And then I would take a break from Europe for a little bit in terms of Wembley or the UK. I would take a break. And I would go back maybe 3 years from now or something like that. But when you're sitting at 35, 40,000 seats, it's still an accomplishment, but you could do that somewhere else.
100% it is. Yeah, 100% it is. It's nothing to sneeze at. But like I said, I think it shows the demand for Wembley is not there right now. So go away. God forbid. I know this is heresy to speak of with AEW hardcore fans, but follow a little bit of the WWE model. And like you said, run a tour out there once or twice a year, because that's one thing WWE has shown. And the same as when AEW goes overseas, the demand is there and you will sell really well and have a big injection into your business. If you go over there, you just don't need to run this stadium show. Now, I will say to this topic, I would expect that 2027 it will not be there, because I would expect that All In 2027 will be in April and be somewhere in the States, considering that WrestleMania is going to be in Saudi Arabia.
Right. And WWE got ahead of all of this because I think the announcement will be coming very, very shortly, within the next month and a half. WWE got ahead of it and announced stateside events in New York, okay, for WrestleMania weekend that is taking place in Saudi Arabia. So again, they're ahead of it because I believe WWE knows what we all are predicting, that AEW is going to do something big. My prediction is that AEW does All In Jacksonville in April. So we'll see.
They can't do Jacksonville because that stadium is being constructed. They'd have to do it in Orlando at Camping World. That's where they're playing the next 2 years.
Well, is their old stadium being demolished?
I don't think it's being full on demolished, but it's being completely renovated to the point that I don't know that you could have a full boat in there like you'd want. I could be wrong on that, but that's my understanding of.
Well, I think there's going to be events in Jacksonville, though. All In, I think, could take place in a baseball stadium. I'll say that. I don't know if it's going to be in Jacksonville, but All In will be in a baseball stadium. That's my prediction.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, so I'm with that. Okay, so you mentioned it in the beginning. We saw Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. It was very Knicks heavy. It was very I'll say moment heavy. The reception online Saturday night and since was that not enough wrestling, and the wrestling that was on there wasn't the greatest. You had the women's tag match. You had Danhausen and Carl Anthony Towns. Buy or sell, Drew. WWE messed up with Saturday night's main event in Madison Square Garden.
Oh, God, no. WWE, first of all, this is a grand slam. I'm selling this. I mean, WWE did not mess up at all. This is an absolute promotional grand slam. WWE having Carl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson in the building for Saturday night's main event, especially since Jalen's a huge fan of WWE, number one. Kat, not so much, but to have the two, minus OG, the two biggest components of that Knicks team, and especially that finals run. And like I said, OG with the tip and the way he played and everything else like that, you could have had him there as well. But having Carl Anthony Towns' involvement and Jalen Brunson's involvement in any WWE show, especially one that's in Madison Square Garden, some month and a half removed from the Knicks winning their first NBA championship in 52 years. Not to mention that's Jalen's first appearance in the Garden since winning the championship, which they won in San Antonio. You do that every single time. AEW would have done the exact same thing if Jalen Brunson and Carl Anthony Towns were interested in working with them too. WWE is an entertainment company. Yes, there's wrestling involved, obviously, but the cross-promotional material here is something you can't even pay for. ESPN, ABC, USA Today, Fox News, the NBA channel network, NBA.com. They were everywhere, absolutely everywhere, and that gets eyes on your product, and that's what you need. AEW did stuff with Giannis because they were in Milwaukee and Giannis wanted to be there. Now, did Giannis have a match? No. Did Giannis do anything physical? No. I believe Giannis was in season. But you do this because it got mainstream media coverage everywhere. That's why you do it. And WWE wants new eyeballs on their product. And if they could get 1 out of 15 eyeballs to stay with their product, then it's a smash.
Well, and it's a whole new audience set. Yes, there is crossover. There are NBA fans that watch WWE, but there are not a lot, grand scheme. And that should be the goal of your business, in my opinion, is to grow your audience. I mean, you can't be just stagnant with we get 1.5 million a week. It's great. Cool. We're good. We make a lot of money. No, because what happens if those people go away? You want to keep growing and keep growing and keep growing.
Right.
And I think you brought up 2 key points. First of all, I agree with you. I don't think they did. Was it the greatest show? No, but I understand why they
Blake,
did it.
That show was not good.
Business.
It was not good outside of a couple things here. It was not good. If you're talking about just genuine wrestling, no, it was not great besides the tag match. I think the tag match told a beautiful story. And the Bayley match we'll get into, but I mean, Jalen Brunson, now the Carl Anthony Towns appearance got good coverage, but Jalen Brunson, Yahoo Sports, CBS Sports, Fox News, CNN, Sports Illustrated. I mean, it just ESPN, ESPN2, it was everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. The NBA network.
Well, I think that's underestimated because you're talking about the guy who's to say 25 years from he'll always be remembered in New York. Who's to say 25 years from now? But right now, today, is the biggest professional athlete in the biggest city in the, maybe not the world, but in the United States.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. New York City is the Mecca. MSG is the Mecca. Jalen Brunson is the face of New York right now and probably will be for a long time.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's like getting Derek Jeter.
At least for the next couple of years.
Yeah, it's like getting Derek Jeter to do something with WWE. You can't pay for that type of stuff. And a lot of these athletes don't want to mix their brands. They don't want anything to do with any of this stuff. And Jalen and Kat wanted to. You do it. I understand that the fans are like, this isn't what I want to watch, but not everything is going to be for me and you. And if you want to watch just pure wrestling, there's another promotion that does that. And they're very good at it. But to sit here and think that AEW wouldn't jump at the opportunity to do MSG or have Jalen Brunson a part of their show either, you're out of your minds. Out of your minds. They would 100%.
No, we were talking about that offline earlier. If it's Tuesday If James Dolan called Tony Khan today and said, "Hey, I'm done with WWE," obviously let's suspend disbelief, and Saturday night's main event didn't happen. I'm done with WWE. I tried to get them to do something with Jalen and the Knicks to celebrate our championship, and they said no.
Sure.
I'll let you have Madison Square Garden tomorrow night. Tony's canceling the building he's in tonight or tomorrow night. Absolutely. The building they're in right now, and they're running MSG. Like, it's just, it's like you said, it's the Mecca. It's where
this isn't the first time this has happened either, which is so strange to me. You know, like, it's happened time and time again, and people, I guess, were mad because it was New York and it was so Knicks heavy. And to me, I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand why this one bothered you, but Karl Malone, Shaq, Mike Tyson, I mean, the list goes on and on. Muhammad Ali, those didn't bother you? This is something that WWE's done and is their bread and butter since I can remember, since the 80s, and that's what took them to different stratospheres. MTV, the War to Settle the Score, like Wendy Richter, Mr. T, like, this is WWE's bread and butter. And again, you need that to appeal to a different demographic and to get the cross-promotional materials. That's how you grow. And again, if Jalen Brunson called Tony Khan, I guarantee you Tony would absolutely take the call and probably have a segment with Jalen on Dynamite or a pay-per-view. It's just that type of stuff you don't pass up. If Saturday night's main event was in San Antonio and the Spurs won the championship, they'd be doing the same damn thing if Wemby wanted to be a part of it. It's not because it was just the Knicks. Everything lined up and it worked. That's why they did it. Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton were probably supposed to have a tag match before Halliburton got hurt and all this other stuff, and it just never came to fruition. But I know that both of them loved the WWE and wanted to do something in ring. So you saw it.
Yeah, listen, and I think, you mentioned it a second ago. I think the one thing to remember in this is WWE, yes, they do wrestling. Yes, they are built around wrestling, but that is not the business model. The business model is moments, the experience of the live event, making money, selling merch, appealing to kids, all that stuff. AEW, which is what is great about AEW, especially with the subset of the fan base right now that yearns for this hardcore wrestling, that's what they give. WWE is going to give you enough of it to where whether you hate watch it or you watch it because you like it, you're still going to watch it, and that's what matters to them. But AEW is the one that's going to appeal to you, and it's okay. Like, it's okay that there's two different companies that have two different business models. Sure. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So
Saturday night's main event is not PLEs. Go ahead.
No. Final major topic of the day, and then we'll hit a few quick hits at the end. Yesterday, we got some news on everybody's favorite topic, the Paramount WBD deal. A judge issued a temporary halt to the deal, pending review. It doesn't mean anything today, but depending on what this, we'll call it a restraining order, but that's not exactly what it is. Depending on what this entails and how long it delays the finalization of this deal, it could cost Paramount millions of dollars a day to the tune of up to $650 million a quarter if it stalls out this deal long enough. Which, listen, the dollars and cents of it, even though you're talking about $100 billion deal, $650 million a quarter ain't something to sneeze at. And if it did, again, I want to be clear for the AEW hardcores out there. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's a immediate threat, but if this does cause a stall out to this deal, it could have an adverse effect, because what happens when you end up spending more money and you're out of debt is they look for things to cut. So
sure,
our format, buy or sell. If this WBD deal gets stalled out, could it lead to trouble for AEW?
This deal's, from looking at things, a lot of people and rightfully so. A lot of people who cover the industry look at this from a fan's perspective, and they don't actually go into the nooks and crannies of the business and how things work. The deal is going to close. It'll close in September, probably late September. But the deal is
30th is the day where the penalties start to kick in. So that's the day it has to close before Paramount has penalties.
So it'll close. That'll be the last possible date, but it's going to close. There's so much that wrestling fans aren't paying attention to, and that's okay. That's why they have people like me or somebody else to hopefully do that for them. But this deal is going to go through. I mean, I would be shocked, floored if it didn't. Floored. And do I think AEW is in trouble? I don't know if there's a home for AEW on Paramount and their networks. I don't know.
And I don't think Paramount knows either right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the key thing to remember. I know Tony's spitting roses, Dave's spitting roses, all these people are spitting roses, but if you take a long, hard look at the IP that's at stake here for this deal, AEW is, no offense to them, they've done great. They're an IP worth a lot of money, but they're not at the top of the list of priorities here.
Yeah, and this is no disrespect to All Elite Wrestling or anybody. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that AEW is a viable entity, and
100% they are.
And a lot of media rights buyers would buy them. But in terms of what we're talking about right now, AEW is a small fish in a giant pond in terms of Paramount and WBD.
Yes.
So again, there'll be buyers for their media rights. I don't know what the future holds for AEW and WBD and Paramount. What I will say is that I think AEW is in a great position because of its ownership and leadership. In terms of them staying around, I don't think AEW is in any sort of trouble. And I think, truthfully, if you look at some things, I would assume Paramount would want more content. I just don't know if their partners currently are going to allow that. And that's where we run into some issues. That's all.
Yeah. I would agree. So, all right, Drew, we got a few minutes left. So we're going to hit a few quick hit topics that were brought up. You put it on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
I thought, going back to Saturday night's main event, I thought the Lyra Bayley match was really interesting, and the ending of it was almost as if Bayley was written off of TV.
Sure.
Leading you to believe maybe Bayley's headed out. Maybe she's the next in line of the New Day, the Sheamuses, and these people that it's not been reported. The only thing that's been reported to this point is that her contract is up at the end of this year. Maybe she turned down a reduction in pay and she's on her way out.
Well,
buy or sell, Bayley's out of the WWE soon.
I'm buying this. I don't think a lot of people understand the contract and how those negotiations work, or when you're given an offer or a sheet or anything else like that. I'm sure Bayley was presented, because we're midway through 2026 and her expiration of her contract is probably just about 4 to 5 months away. Truthfully, I think it could be something that was already presented to her. I would probably almost guarantee that she has had contract extension talks with TKO and WWE. And if she has turned it down, then, which I believe she has, then you have seen what you're seeing in terms of creative. This is not the first. It won't be the last. So I think Bayley is AEW bound. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I said that a week ago on Wrestle Collective when I made kind of like a surprise appearance. I believe that Bayley is headed to AEW. I think she wants to go work with one of her best friends. And I think Tony Khan would absolutely love a talent like Bayley in AEW, especially for that division. And a lot of people sit back and they're always like, oh, it's just another ex-WWE talent. There are some talents that are in WWE that I don't care if they were WWE or WCW or WWF or ECW or whatever, you go get them. And Bayley's one of them. So is the New Day. You go get that type of talent. It's new feuds. It's not, she wants to work with her best friend. It's a whole, fresh coat of paint that Bayley gets. And truthfully, Bayley has done everything you could possibly ever want to do in WWE. I believe she won the Rumble. She's won all the championships there. And if she doesn't like where she's at right now, just go away for a little bit, go make a lot of money and go work for AEW and have fun there. And I think this is absolutely happening. I did want to jump back to the AEW stuff too. I want to make this very clear, very, very clear on what I mean by I don't know if there's going to be room for them on Paramount/WBD when the merger happens. AEW is very affordable content. And I'm saying this
Absolutely.
this is not me being rude. It's not like AEW is cheap or anything like that. But for a 52 week, and Hannibal, I believe, said this too, 52 weeks a year, and same thing with WWE. WWE is way more expensive because of the brand and everything else like that and what they bring. But AEW is very affordable. So that's not the issue that I see with Paramount and WBD. I see the direct competition on their brands and on their networks. That's the issue. And I don't know if that's going to be a problem. But if you're talking about is AEW affordable, would Paramount Plus want that type of content? Yeah, absolutely. I just don't know if they're going to be able to. But Bayley, I think, is headed to AEW.
I agree with that 100%. I think that's the key component. If TKO did not have property on Paramount already, I don't think it's even a question that AEW continues with.
Or on ESPN or on this network and that network. Right. They have blocked everything. I think AEW would be a very hot commodity in terms of because they're affordable for what they provide.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've talked about it. We'll continue the AEW train. And I agree with you on Bayley. I think Bayley's a no-brainer for AEW because if you see what she's done and also you see her doing these training seminars and stuff now, if you look at the AEW women's division, they have a lot of up-and-coming ladies that could benefit from Bayley being in their ear, working with Bayley, learning how to put matches together, all that kind of stuff. I mean, Bayley's a no-brainer for AEW in that women's division, in my opinion. But shifting to another AEW topic, Tony has been making some media rounds lately and has had some interesting comments about Bryan Danielson. About how he's too banged up to do commentary, but his wife is posting social media videos of Bryan in the ring helping her train.
Yeah.
Something doesn't fit here.
Well, I just think that Bryan Danielson didn't really fit on commentary, in my opinion. Like Danielson's a fantastic wrestler, and he was mediocre at best at commentary, and it's not for everybody. But I think this is probably just Tony protecting his guy and just being like, oh, Bryan's a little banged up. He can't travel all the time. That's why we're not having him on commentary. And the truth being, Bryan wasn't that great on commentary. And I think that's it. And truthfully, I've made the suggestion a million times and I'll make it again. I would much rather see two-man booth for Dynamite and for Collision. Give me Taz and Ian Riccaboni for Dynamite if Ian would do it. And I would have Excalibur and Nigel on Collision. And I think that would work. Tony Schiavone could still do the in-ring stuff at the top of the ramp stuff like he did for WCW. But I don't need him on commentary. That's no knock to Tony. Tony's a great guy. And I think Tony would probably welcome the fact that he doesn't have to sit behind the announce desk for 3+ hours or 2+ hours. So I like the two-man booth because it's less traffic. And I'm sure the commentators, for the most part, love it too. AEW absolutely needs Taz and Ian Riccaboni, and and Nigel's very good too. So those three need to be on commentary wherever you put them. And I like Excalibur as well, but that's where I'm at with that one. I think Tony's just protecting Bryan.
I'm not a big Excalibur. Yeah, I'm not a big Excalibur guy, but I agree with you 100% on Taz. Like when Taz, the weeks that Taz is not there, because it seems like Taz doesn't like to travel to the West Coast. The weeks that Taz isn't there, there is a noticeable difference in the quality of commentary on the show.
I know that Taz has had surgery, though, and I think that's probably why he doesn't do the longer trips. But I think if there was something that Tony, presented to Taz and Ian and Excalibur and Nigel, I don't think any of them would just be like, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to travel. Like all of those guys are gamers. Yeah. And I'm sure if Taz was presented with something or Ian was presented with something, we'll give you a little more and we want you on every Dynamite. I'm sure both those men would do it.
I'm sure you're correct. The one thing I'll say on the Danielson front, what I was going to say was, you mentioned Tony protecting his guy. I also think, and this is just my opinion from watching Brian when he did commentary, if you really looked, anytime they flashed to the commentators, Brian was slumped over. It looked like he didn't want to be there. I think Brian did it for a while to be a company guy, and because his boss and the guy that's paying him said, "Hey, I want you to come do this since you're not going to wrestle."
Sure.
But I also think, and I think Brian was good from as far as what he would offer, but it didn't look like Brian wanted to do it either.
Well, I think, again, when you look at the books and you're paying X amount of dollars for a guy and he's not on the road weekly, you're kind of like, how can I make this work? Okay, let me get him on commentary. Again, Brian being a producer and maybe a coach, which they seem to have a lot of, is probably the route I would take. And I know that Brian and Tony are tight. So, maybe have Brian be a senior advisor to Tony. And, that way you're getting, if you look at it from a financial standpoint, that way you're getting your money's worth. Because Brian's got a great wrestling mind. So commentary, though, I'm okay with not doing that.
I would agree. We talked about WWE crossover when it came to MSG.
Sure.
It seems like another crossover is imminent based on what happened at Fanatics Fest this weekend. Now people are reporting that he's talking to WWE. Shocker. It looks like WWE is about to get in the Tom Brady business. Now, the internet's not going to like this because it's another non-wrestling thing. But listen, at the end of the day, if Tom Brady wants to do business, you do business with Tom Brady because of the exposure.
Sure.
This is the greatest NFL quarterback of all time. The guy who is going to go down because of all he did as the best to ever do it. You got to do it if he wants to do it. I don't care. I mean,
yeah, again, this is something where people are up in arms about this too. Do I think Tom's going to have a singles match at WrestleMania? No, I don't. Do I think that Tom could accompany somebody to the ring to take on Logan? I do. Do I think that Tom could wrestle in a tag match where he's limited to a couple spots with a trusted ring vet who's going to be control the match? I do. And you do it. Again, you do it because it's Tom Brady. It's like if Michael Jordan wanted to get into your wrestling ring, which don't think that WCW didn't try and get that done too. They did. Michael Jordan was just no thanks. So, again, you do it. AEW, if he wanted to go work for AEW and do something with AEW, he being Brady, they would take it too. You just don't pass up on something like that. It's got to be the right thing too. Just because it's Tom Brady, you don't give him a singles match against Roman Reigns or Logan Paul, but you got to protect Tom and you got to protect your company, and WWE will do that. So am I mad about this? No, I'm not.
No, I'm not either, because listen, at the end of the day, whatever, let's say Tom shows up at SummerSlam on Saturday and does something. Sunday, you are worldwide news because Tom Brady was at SummerSlam or whenever it is. If it's at Rumble, Tom lives, you said you think Rumble's trending toward Miami. Tom lives in Miami. If it's Rumble, that Monday, worldwide news. Tom Brady was in the Royal Rumble.
Well, and Tom could
Logan Paul at the Royal Rumble.
Tom could declare for the Rumble, or he could just be a surprise entry and eliminate Logan. There you go.
Right. I mean, it's just Tom is one of those names. You just, if he wants to get in the business, you get in the business. Okay. I believe, Dave, if you're listening, don't get mad at me if I'm wrong, but I believe I saw this morning somebody reporting that Dave Meltzer said that WWE is starting to overuse Danhausen. I don't disagree, but what I will say is I think it's for a purpose and a reason, because WWE knows that the Danhausen effect and that Danhausen, the character, probably has a really short shelf life. He's never going to appeal wrestling wise. He's only going to appeal to the kids. So they're getting the most out of it while they can. So is it beating you over the head with it a little bit? Yeah. Does it get a little much at times? Yeah. But I understand why they're doing it, because I think they know that a year from now, he ain't gonna be near as hot.
Let's just say that Danhausen signed a year contract. And let's just say it's 2. Okay. He debuted in February, I believe. We are 5 months into let's just say a 2-year contract. Okay. 24 months. He's made them a shit ton of money. He being Danhausen.
Oh my God.
He is everywhere. And is his wrestling the best? No, but at the end of the day, like, that's not what this company is all about. It's tiring to keep like listening to the same thing over and over and over again. And I think the biggest thing here is that when WCW was in existence, they also did a lot of the entertainment stuff. So there wasn't this direct comparison of like, why is WWE doing this? And, how come AEW is not? Because WCW and WWE were doing the same damn thing. The only thing that was kind of not doing that was ECW because, with all due respect, they didn't have the budget. Okay. So I don't hate any of the celebrity involvement. I don't hate the overuse of Danhausen because they know, like you said, there's a real expiration date on this type of stuff where people are like, okay, we get it. You're cursed. And it's been hot for 5 months. It'll probably be hot for another, and then it might fall off. And then at that point, you're doing the best you can and trying to and go from there. But WWE has maximized its return on Danhausen where other companies had failed. And here's another point. Danhausen was in AEW. They just never used him. So, I mean, why is this an issue?
I mean, AEW's just not set up that way.
It's not the right company for him.
Somebody like Danhausen.
Yeah.
No, they're not. They're not. I mean, they don't have a big merchandising arm like WWE does. That's, it's just not, it wasn't the right fit. They brought him in because he had indie buzz, like they brought in a lot of people. But at the end of the day, Danhausen's where he needs to be in WWE. And like you said, whether it's the rest of this year, does it bleed into 2027? They're going to make the most of it. And he's going to make more money than he's ever made in his entire life.
Well, and here's the thing. I think people are more mad about the fact that he's having another match. He had a match at Saturday Night's Main Event. Then they announced the Dominic Mysterio match for SummerSlam. And it's like, this is a terrible use of Dom Mysterio. First of all, Dom Mysterio is going to carry that match, and that's his job, number one. Danhausen will do the things that he does. He'll get a pop, and so will Dom, and maybe Dom gets uncursed, blah, 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 whatever. But at the end of the day, Danhausen in a backstage role for the 2 minutes that we see him on television at max sometimes, it's not overkill. It's the fact that he's wrestling again. Okay, that bothers you guys here and there. Whatever, I understand that. The match will probably be 6 to 7 minutes, maybe, and that'll be it. And it'll probably be a lot of hubbub and bullshit in the match. So, I mean, like, we don't need to keep, like, making everything about having the best wrestling. You have that already in another company if that's what you truly and honestly desire. WWE is always going to do the entertainment stuff. And I will tell you that 5 months in, I'm not sick of Danhausen. And I also told anybody who would listen that Danhausen was going to wrestle more than once or twice a year. WWE doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
They do not work like that.
Yeah. All right. I got 2 more. I've had this one for a couple of weeks, but it was worked out today that I think it was BJ Bethel posted. He's on this kind of stuff, but posted that that the 2 camps for Vince McMahon and Janelle Grant have officially agreed to private arbitration, and that case is going to be leaving the legal system. So Vince McMahon, it's not done yet, but between the shareholder lawsuit and this, Vince has officially cleaned his decks as far as all the things that were over his head and potentially prohibiting him from making some sort of return back into the public eye. Yeah. So my question for you, given that, and given where WrestleMania is going to be in April, I don't think we ever see Drew, I don't think we ever see Vince McMahon back into a regular role in WWE.
Right.
But do we see Vince McMahon being put into the Hall of Fame in 2027 because they can control the environment?
Well, I'll say this. I be careful with my words here. I think you will see Vince McMahon eventually on WWE television. I don't think he's going to be a reoccurring character. I could see that you have him in the Hall of Fame. So that would count as a television appearance. Yes. Be on the lookout for more Vince McMahon name drops within the next 4 to 5 months leading up to WrestleMania. It's a smart take by you with the Hall of Fame induction. I would much rather see Vince go into the Hall of Fame in Saudi Arabia than John Cena. I think John Cena's Hall of Fame induction needs to be stateside. And I know that Saudi Arabia wants John a part of this WrestleMania. Make him the host again. The internet fans will be pissed about it, but you know who won't be? The Saudi Arabia crowd. So do it. Leave John off the Hall of Fame bill until we can have him back stateside. And that's the selfishness in me. But I also think that the fans here in North America and the United States, and even in Europe and UK, they deserve to have a chance to see. I'm not saying you can't travel to Saudi Arabia, but they deserve to have a chance to see John go into the Hall of Fame. So I do think that Vince McMahon could go into the Hall of Fame. Vince has more than just one legal problems right now, but I think they will all be done with in the next 3 months.
Yeah, it appears they're imminent. That the ending of all of them are imminent. So
it's not a shocker either, Blake. I mean, everyone. I mean, I saw this from Jump Street. I don't think any of this stuff gets out, truthfully, if Janelle was paid her money from the jump.
Well, and listen, I agree with you on that front, but here's the deal as well from Janelle's standpoint. You saw some of this when the initial court filings and all the just abhorrent details of this got released.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's more of that. And if this goes into a trial that is going to be widely covered by the media, that stuff gets out and gets out forever. And listen, Janelle's a young girl. Obviously I don't know her, but if she ever has designs to have a family of her own, that's shit you don't want kids having access to at any point.
Yeah.
So I don't blame her for I don't blame her for being willing to go, you know what? Let's just settle this. I don't want this shit out in the public eye.
Yeah, I would say that, first of all, the stuff that went on was absolutely atrocious and disgusting. And no human should ever be treated like that.
It's important.
But I do think that, I think Vince has more, and WWE and TKO has more to lose having this go-to trial and get really, really into the public eye. So they want to settle immediately. So
I agree with you on that front. I just, like I said, I don't blame, Janelle for wanting to settle either, because that, like, as somebody who, and I'm not going to speak nothing on that scale, but dealt with some, like, you don't want that shit out. You want to box that shit in because it's going to follow you the rest of your life. So listen, I think it's obviously it's best for Vince. Not that matters. I think it's best for Janelle long-term as well. All right. Final topic I have.
Go ahead. I was going to ask you about Dark Side of the Ring. Did you watch the TNA stuff?
I did. I thought it was really well done. I will say that I wish I understand why she didn't. I wish Dixie Carter would have been on there to give her side of it. I think it would have made it a lot more well-rounded and not so much the Jeff Jarrett story. But overall, I thought it was really well done.
Yeah, I did too. I think it was kind of Jeff's redemption story, and the heights that TNA soared to, a lot of people might not know, because, I mean, it was a viable number 2 for a little bit, and then all of a sudden, other people came in, and Dixie thought she knew how to run a company, and I think Dixie. I think the side from Dixie would have been very interesting. I think her father had a huge part in them saying, okay, the Carters run TNA, not Jeff Jarrett. I don't think Dixie wants to talk about that. And I don't blame her.
I agree. I don't blame her for not wanting to talk about it, because I don't think there's a win there for her.
Sure.
I think she still comes off as, excuse my language, but she still comes off as the bitch who killed TNA, no matter what she says. But for the narrative of the story, I would have liked to seen her in it to give her side of it. But I completely understand why she didn't do it. I do. Yeah, you said it. They were think about it in context. At their peak, TNA hit over 2 million viewers. WWE doesn't do that on a weekly basis right now.
Well, at a different time, but I mean, a lot of companies would kill to do that right now. I'm with you.
10, 12 years ago, right? It was 2011, 2012, but still, just to give you a context of where TNA was at.
Sure.
They were at a bigger place viewership-wise than WWE is today in 2026 on a
I think
basis.
The biggest revealing thing in that whole show, there was two things. Number one was Karen Jarrett. And I this wasn't revealing to me because I've spoken to Karen. She is so well spoken and she is just an absolute like gem. So that was something that a lot of people didn't know. The other thing too, which I thought was very, very interesting and something that doesn't get talked about, was like TNA as a whole. I mean, when you become a viable number two, like we talked about, you have to kind of weird off and push away the people who are going to try and latch on and just bleed you dry. And we saw that, and everyone kind of knew that. But the involvement of Vince Russo since like the inception of TNA, a lot of people said that he was like very behind the scenes and he was only there for a couple of years. Vince Russo was there from the beginning all the way through the Hogan stuff.
For over a decade.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people just didn't know that either, which I thought was very, very revealing. But I do think that Jeff was always the guy who was going to, and that's why Jeff was such an asset to TNA, because it was his baby. And when he went and met with Hogan and he said Hogan and Bischoff had no idea, and it had nothing to do with our product. They had no idea who we were or what we were doing. They just saw the buzz and they figured they could make a lot of money. That's something where you sit back and you say, Jeff was 100% right. And you should have trusted Jeff to just have Hogan as like the brand ambassador. Cause all Hogan wanted to do is collect the check, brother. And I can't say I blame him.
No. Yeah. It was during one of the periods where he was, I don't remember if it was after the tape came out or whatever, but it was one of the periods where he was not in good standing with Vince. And he needed a paycheck, and he was
he had done his stuff. I think he ran back to back
all his marital issues, and he just needed a paycheck. I don't blame Hogan for that, but yeah, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah,
you know that, again, that's where I would have liked to have heard Dixie or you mentioned Bob Carter's spin on it of why they pushed through with it, and if they had, if they had the same feeling, because, from Jeff's, from the narrative that the show put out and Jeff's perspective, that was a disaster and a terrible decision to make.
Yeah.
And the writing was on the wall. You can see, I mean, TNA went from where they were pre-Hogan to being a viable number two to on a, just death spiral to where they are today in 2026, to where they're still around, which is a credit to them, but they're a fraction of what they were.
Sure. And I'm very much looking forward to tonight's Samoa Joe Necro Butcher because I remember the match because of the buzz around it being so gruesome. And it was like two wrestlers who should have no business having a match with each other. They were complete and polar opposites, and it should not be as good of a match as it is. So,
yeah, I don't know much about that because I didn't follow that the indie scene back then. But just hearing Necro Butcher in the trailer being like, "When is he gonna die?"
Yeah,
like, okay,
right.
You sold me. All right, final topic for today on the television show. We'll stay on that topic. Another season of WWE Unreal released today. And I haven't watched the lick of it yet. I'm excited to watch it because I think it's a great product. I really enjoyed the first two seasons.
If you truly understand what it's all about.
Exactly, and that's where we're going. My timeline is filled with people ripping a comment about Bruce Pritchard, ripping this, ripping that, ripping I think it's important for people to remember reality shows, even though they have the word reality in them, are not real. WWE is giving you a peek into what they do but it doesn't mean they're giving you the real what's really going on. They're letting you see what they want you to see, and it's a vehicle where the real purpose of the show is. And again, I haven't watched it, but I see it. Like, I think what they've done, I see clips of Trick Williams, Braun Breaker. You know, Liv Morgan's never been on it. She's in a prominent role. Oba's in there. It should make you want to invest in these people to watch what they do on the shows. It's not about seeing the booking. Just because they had Braun Breaker on a board saying he was going to win the Royal Rumble and then they changed it, how do you know they didn't do that shit on purpose?
Well,
for the TV show.
Funny? You know what's funny, Blake? Again, I think a lot of people don't put two and two together. That Unreal also helps out with their storylines, and they're going to be smart and book with them and around them. So what is everyone talking about right now? How Braun Breaker's unhappy with his creative direction. How Braun Breaker really has no purpose. He was main eventing, and now all of a sudden he's not. And what is he doing? And then they drop this whole thing on Unreal where Braun was supposed to win the Royal Rumble, and he didn't because fans thought it'd be shoving him down their throats. And now Braun is the furthest thing from being shoved down anyone's throats. They're actually complaining because there's less of him now more than ever. Gee, I don't find that coincidental. I also think that they use Unreal to get the internet riled up, which is smart. Give them a little taste of what's going on and how things are done. But they also blend and weave all of these things into their weekly episodic television programming. And now Braun, just like R-Truth, and just like, who was the other one? Tiffany Stratton, and just like some others on the show have a lot. Say it again. Chelsea Green. A lot of sympathy towards these characters now, which gives you a genuine human organic connection. I needed to do that. And now fans are going to rile and support Braun Breaker. He's supposed to win the Rumble. These bastards, like, they gave us Roman Reigns, and now Braun's doing nothing. Like, again, you got to have your eyes on the prize and see what they're doing here. This is, as much as it's called Unreal, it is just like any reality television show. It's all unreal.
Well, Unreal is a proper title because it's not real. It's not reality. It's like I said, it's just like every other reality show. Whatever reality show you watch, whether it's Survivor, whether it's Big Brother, whether it's freaking Real World, that's not on anymore, but they edit it in a way that they want you to feel a certain way. It is not just turn the cameras on and watch, because that's just not the way it happens.
And the other thing too, dude, is that, like, again, I guarantee you they have here's where we're going storyline wise, and here's what we're gonna do on Unreal. Now, how can we write the show for Unreal where it bleeds into this, and when we release Unreal, where are we going to be with the storyline so that we can continue to gain sympathy on this character? All right, the storyline is that Braun was supposed to win the Rumble. All right, let's knock Braun down a peg or two here for the next 8 weeks so that when Unreal comes out, that's going to line up with our current stuff, and people are going to be like, what the hell? And people online will be like, you're giving them too much credit. We're not. I'm sorry, we're not. If you don't think that Triple H and WWE and all these people see so much money in Braun Breaker, they do. And now Braun is putting stuff out or somebody close to Braun that he's unhappy. Braun was just in a main event match, a cage match. It wasn't the main event, but it's one of them in Saudi Arabia at Night of Champions. He returned at WrestleMania to a thunderous ovation. He's a tag team champion. He's a former Intercontinental champion. If Braun's upset with creative, truthfully, then I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Here's the thing too, right?
So the speculation ever since the Mania in Saudi Arabia was announced was that is where we will finally get Roman Reigns versus The Rock.
Some bald idiot put that out a while ago.
I agree. Let's say hypothetically, that means Obafemi's going to beat Roman Reigns for the world title at Royal Rumble. How do you know Braun doesn't win the Royal Rumble this year and fights either Oba or the other champion at the time?
Exactly. And the thing, too, is that you guys and girls need to pay attention to what's going on right now, because a Roman Seth match at SummerSlam, they could have saved this for the Rumble. They could have saved this for WrestleMania. They could have saved this for whatever. They're doing it at SummerSlam now. Oba has foregone his WWE or World Heavyweight Championship opportunity, which is interesting. Again, you need to start reading between the lines. Could this be a Rock involvement very shortly? You'll know by November, and you'll 100% know by January. But all signs right now point to they don't just rip away championship opportunities for a guy that they believe has the rocket ship. There's obviously something that could be going on behind the scenes where, listen, you're not going to do it right now. We're not going Oba and Roman at SummerSlam because, Roman's, we need him to get to the Rumble with the championship, and then we'll go from there, blah, blah, blah. So we're going to do that at the Rumble. There's just, again, we'll give you an opportunity and you'll win it. So let's just finish off the Lesnar stuff, because it does make Oba look like a goof, truthfully, in like real life. If you're pretending wrestling is real life, it's a goofball mentality, but they will always make it up, and they will always, for the most part, bookend it and make things work. And I think that they will make this work, especially if the Rock's involved.
Well, and here's the deal, right?
Nobody will be talking about the fact that Oba left his championship opportunity if he wins it in January and you got Rock and Roman at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was about to just say, was that as goofy as it is, and I think everybody agrees, it is goofy from a storyline standpoint that you would give up the shot to beat the guy. But if Oba beats Roman in front of 30 or 40,000 people at Royal Rumble in January, clean, the guy that has dominated the show for the last decade and a half, nobody's going to give two shits that he gave up King of the Ring to fight Brock Lesnar. It's going to be about the fact that they just put this guy clean over Roman.
Also, if Rock is at Rumble and he does the throat slash to Roman because he just lost the championship, think about that. Yeah. Oba's crowned.
Nobody's going to be talking about
Rock and Roman are set for Saudi Arabia at WrestleMania, the match that everyone wants to see. And like we both said, nobody will be talking about how Oba was dumb to give up his opportunity because he's walking into WrestleMania as the champion.
Yep.
And this match at SummerSlam is a massive match at a Hell in a Cell. It's not like Oba was like, I don't want to fight for the championship and I'm going to go fight Penta for the Intercontinental title. Like, come on.
And I don't want to shy away either from, and I'm going to say it like this, no offense to Sami Zayn or people like that, but we're not talking about Oba beating Sami Zayn for a championship.
Right.
We're talking about him beating Roman Reigns clean in the middle of the ring. That means something.
Yeah, for sure.
If you watched WWE over the last 6 years, Roman's only put over about 3 people.
Right. And I mean,
one of them, he put over Cody, he put over his cousin, and that's about it.
Yeah. And again, I think it's always the vocal minority, but we'll see. We'll see. A lot going on in the world of professional wrestling as we get closer and closer to SummerSlam here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. A lot of independent events happening here in Minnesota as well. Make sure you guys go check that out. I believe it's HOG, GCW. There's a First Wrestling Friday night Nitro taking place at Mall of America the night before SummerSlam. So go support independent wrestling. You get to see a lot of guys and girls that were former stars who are now from WWE and AEW. Some are currently with the company. I see Hook's doing a lot of things with GCW. I know that Amazing Red is the owner of HOG, one of them, and he's also wrestling. So, again, go check that stuff out. And, yes, for those who don't believe, the SummerSlam ticket sales have absolutely picked up, and that's because of pricing. I have screamed this, Blake could tell you, for over 3 years now. The pricing is insane, and you weed out a lot of your hardcore blue-collar demographic. And if you continue to do that, they will wait until you meet their price, and they have. So there you go. Blake, where can people subscribe, and follow you?
My name on the screen here, I don't see it, but
so.
My Twitter handle is just my name at Blake Mitchmore. Give me a follow there, and then follow Final Bill Media where this bad boy is.
Yep, no name on the screen. But yes, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow Blake Mitchmore. I'm at Andrew Badal. This is Final Bell Media. This is our second episode of Thanks for the House. I appreciate you guys and girls joining us. Professional wrestling is always a blast. Make sure you don't take life or this too seriously. And we'll catch you guys and girls down the road. We're going to try and get this out bi-weekly. I'll see you guys Thursday for No Dirt, Just Dialogue with Juice and Jordan as we inch closer and closer to AEW Redemption, which has a lot of people in uproar too. We'll talk about that. Blake, you going to buy Redemption?
I don't know, honestly. I'm on the fence. Tomorrow night will probably go a long way as to whether or not I buy it.
All right. There you go. All right.
It just as of right now, it just seems like a throwaway based on the TV change they made. It seems like a throwaway show. And so they got to do something to sell me Wednesday night.
There you go. All right, boys and girls. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the house. Again, I'm Andrew Badal. That's Blake Mitchmore. Final Bell Media. Like, subscribe, and follow. Hit that bell for notifications so that we go live. You will know. Catch you guys and girls in 2 weeks. See ya.